that I believe works for me, and that is cleaning the house with vodka. It's really amazing. The more you drink, the cleaner your house looks. So go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. And after that terrible joke, I think you need an encore. Ever heard of a blonde man joke? Plenty of blonde women jokes, but a blonde man? Well, here's your first. A blonde man shouts frantically into the phone to the doctor, "My wife is pregnant and has gone into labor. Her contractions are only 2 minutes apart." "Is this her first child?" asked the doctor. "No," shouts the blonde man. "This is her husband." Oh, isn't that terrible? Enough.
Okay.
Now, as you all know, Jean Knapp reached the milestone of 100 years young a few days ago. And this afternoon, she will be toured through Kemptville on a horse and buggy ride in honor of her 100th birthday on Wednesday, October 21st. She will be leaving Bayfield Manor at 2 p.m. and will be taking the following route: Bayfield Manor to Rideau Street, and then to Prescott Street, to Concession Road, to Hurd Street, to Clothier Street, to Rideau Street, and back to Bayfield Manor. Any and all are encouraged to participate by waving, holding signs, balloons, or good wishes at any location along the route for this special person. And it will take place, I believe, Jean, rain or shine, so definitely today. Jean, do you have anything else to add? You're muted.
That pretty well covers it, Rowena. Just as many people on the route as possible to wish her the best of luck.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you very much for supplying that. Now, this is our second virtual general meeting, and I know you're all looking forward to hearing Claude Smith. I know I am. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jeannie and to Anna. Jeannie will introduce Claude, and Anna will conduct the question and answer segment at the end of the presentation, and will also thank her for being with us today. I'll see you again at the end of the meeting. So go ahead, Jeannie and Anna. Jeannie, are you going to?
Yes, I was muted. I'm sorry. Yes, it's with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to introduce Claude Smith here at the community greenhouse of the college, at the Kemptville College. Can you hear me? Yes? Where is Claude?
Yeah.
There she is. Hi, Claude.
Hi.
Yeah, you're in the center greenhouse. This is Claude Smith. She is the head gardener, horticulturalist at the Kemptville campus. And I hand it over to you.
Thank you. Just to give you a bit of a background, I'm originally from Montreal. Moved to Kemptville in '77. That's a long time ago. And at the time was working for Air Canada. And then got in, anyways, I was in HR most of my life and decided when I was 38 to go back to school. So I took the horticultural program at the Kemptville College. It was the Kemptville College then. And graduated when I was 41. So I thought, well, who's going to want to hire a 41-year-old lady on a landscape crew? You know, not too many people. So I decided to start my own company. It was the Village Gardener. And so I was the owner operator for over 20 years. And then started getting a little long in the tooth to do that, all that labor, because we were also doing hard landscaping. Started to teach during the winter at the college, And when the coordinator retired, they asked me to step in as the coordinator for the horticultural programs at the campus and an apprenticeship program. So it was pretty busy, you know, and we were all kind of shocked when the college closed a number of years ago. So I've been pushing hard to get the greenhouses going again. They had remained unopened to the public. They weren't being used, but they still had to heat it so they wouldn't lose the building. So that's so a couple of years ago, we started very slowly doing some workshops. Last year, we were really starting to get going with workshops, which we had to finish on Zoom because of COVID. But we still kept growing herbs and vegetables and flowers, helping out a lot of the small owners around here, like Jen LaBelle, the flower shop, and a lot of those, because nobody was growing anything. Everybody kind of shut down with COVID. And I think the suppliers, the plant material suppliers, were really surprised after cutting off everything and all their production. All of a sudden, everybody wants vegetables, everybody wants herbs and seeds, and it was so hard to get. So we played a small part in helping the small businesses around the community, providing them with plant material that we had grown. We also had a program with a community garden in Barrhaven. Two of their volunteers came in and did some seeding, and then once the seedlings were grown in May, they planted them out at the garden. So they were really happy to have the available space here for free to grow all this food for these people. So this year we're starting again. We're going to hope that we don't get shut down again. We do have a number of workshops that we're starting to offer in November, and I will send a copy to you, Anna, if that's okay, of the workshops. It will be advertised on the municipality's website with the dates, what the workshops are. To give you an example, Monday mornings with Jeannie, who is a member, she's going to start a series of guided meditation here in the middle of the big greenhouse. Then on Friday mornings, we have a series with Dr. Sean Yakimovich, who is a naturopath, and he'll be talking about different herbs that affect different problems that you may have. So that is very interesting. Then we'll have, we have one of our lecturers that used to lecture here at the greenhouse doing a pruning session, just a one-time pruning session, and lawn care, because he was our turf guy. So he'll be doing another session on that. We have another one coming up on nutrition. So we're really, trying to get this going. We have to pay something towards the heat, and that's where the workshops generate the money. And we've started, I don't know if you know my local market. It's, they've rented the garage that's attached to the greenhouse, and they do online shopping as far as local merchants all around. They're kind of the distributor for whatever. They have jams, and they're increasing what they have every week. So if you go on their website, you can see what's available from them. We've started supplying them with herbs because we are growing parsley, rosemary, thyme, different herbs that we will be supplying for them on a weekly basis for them to distribute. So I think the talk today is planned around winterizing your garden and how to do that. Everybody good with that? Okay. So the first step, you know, at this time of year, we start putting our beds to bed for the winter. The first thing you do is take out all your annuals because they're not going to survive the winter. If they're not diseased or infected with bugs, you should compost them because compost is like gold to a gardener. And cut back your perennials. And I always leave, if you have large perennial beds, I always leave some of them standing, the ones that have hard stems, so that they can collect the snow. And the snow is the best insulator for plants. So if you've got something that's a little iffy in this zone, we are a zone 4 to be safe here. Anything higher than that, we usually have problems overwintering. So I usually leave my purple cone flowers up to catch the snow in the beds so that I can get as much insulation as possible. Things that pruning at this time of year is not a great idea. The only thing you should prune back are dead branches off your trees and shrubs and that type of thing. But what happens if you're, and now it's getting a little late, you're not going to see new growth on anything. But if even in August and September, I would not prune anything because then new growth comes out in September, October, because we still have warm days. And it's too tender to go through the winter and it dies off. So now you've pruned your shrubs in September, October, and when they come back up in the spring, you're pruning again because you're pruning the dead stuff that's grown. So no pruning in the fall. Keep it unless it's dead or dying or really interfering with something, you know, over your driveway or something like that. You know, you'd want to cut a large branch. Other than that, you want to keep your pruning to spring or summer. So when we're talking pruning, what happens with all our spring flowering shrubs like forsythia? The majority of our shrubs are spring bloomers. So that means May into June. So they've already got the flower bud set the year before. So they go into the winter with their flower buds on. And what happens a lot, for example, with forsythia is that the flower bud is too tender and a lot of time it gets, it dies off because it's too cold. If the snow is over it, you know, and usually you see that a lot, the forsythias at the top don't flower, but they flower at the bottom because they've been insulated with snow. So snow is a great insulator. If we don't have too cold a winter, then the forsythias really do well because the flower buds don't get killed off. Same thing happens with, if any of you have magnolias. Did somebody have a question? No? Oh, okay, you have a magnolia. What happens with magnolia, again, is the flower bud is already there going into the winter. And then it opens up so early, you know, at the end of April. And if we have a frost that night, that's what kills the buds. They go through the winter fine. It's when they're open and we get a below zero, that's when your flowers are all gone. A suggestion for that is if you know there's going to be a frost that evening, you can put a sprinkler on your magnolia and the water will keep the frost off your shrub, off your magnolia. And you should be able to keep your flowers. They won't, that'll kind of create a shield around it. So that's just a tip on magnolias. If Annabelle hydrangeas, a lot of people have those you can cut those down in the fall, right down, just like you would any perennial. The other one, the PG hydrangea, which is more of a shrub with hard stems, that one you should wait and prune it in the spring. Other than that, for conifers, if you cedar hedges, for as an example, a lot of time when you prune them flat top. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to kind of have a bit of a dome on them, or even, you know, like a bit of a hat formation, so that the snow doesn't sit on your cedar hedges, and then what happens, the snow gets heavy and all your branches start splaying out. So you're better off pruning this way so that the snow falls off. You'll have a better chance over the winter so that it doesn't accumulate snow. Emerald cedars, a lot of people have emerald cedars, and the same thing happens. Those are the ones you get at nurseries that are already pyramidal in shape. They really don't need much pruning. They don't really need much pruning. But again, if we get heavy snow, the snow hits the top and splays out the branches. So what I use is this netting, and you can get it at Canadian Tire. It's you just wrap it around your evergreens, and it doesn't really show because some of the branches come through it, and then you keep it nice and tight, and then the snow can't splay out your branches. I've even got my Christmas lights on one of my emerald cedars, and wrapping it with this is perfect. Like it just stays together. I never take off my my Christmas lights, but you can do that with this mesh and still have it looking good. So this is a good idea for that type of thing, emerald cedars. Snow from roofs, if you have, you always have to watch where the ice and the snow fall. And I know in my front garden, the snow goes right on that front garden. So I can't put shrubs in because the snow would probably break the branches. So I stick with perennials, that it doesn't matter how much snow lands on it, nothing's going to get broken because you only have the roots from the perennials. If you do have plants that you want to protect, really the only way you can do that is with those tents, those wooden tents on top to deflect the snow. Apart from that, let me see. If it's been a dry fall, which it hasn't been for us, but if it has been a dry fall, you want to water your conifers and your evergreens, because they're still transpiring during the winter. You know, when it gets a little warm and things start moving around in the tree, you don't want them to lose all the water that they've stored. So watering in the fall is a good idea if it's been a dry fall. I had a question the other day. Somebody had rose bushes, and what they were going to do is kind of use a tomato cage or something like that and fill it up with leaves to protect it over the winter. What happens if you do that at this time of year, it's a really nice house for mice and moles to come in and stay there for the winter. So if you're going to do that, if you want to protect your roses, wait till the ground freezes, then you can go ahead and mulch it, because it's too late for mice and moles. They've already found a place to stay for the winter. Wrapping tree trunks. So young apple trees, pear trees, that type of thing, that mice and moles really like that. The bark actually tastes good. We have beavers that have started chewing on our trees. We haven't had that for years, but they're coming around again. But for smaller trees and larger trees, a plastic wrap that you just put around your tree trunk will protect it from mice and mold damage. You want to take it off in the spring because you really don't need it then, but this works really well. I've had lots of clients have that problem over the winters. Their shrubs get eaten by, and rabbits, if you have rabbits too. So that works well. Canadian Tire has the netting and that plastic wrap available. Things like boxwood, which does well, if you have boxwood, it does well in sun or shade. The problem is in the winter, because it is an evergreen, it keeps its leaves all winter long. If it's on the west side and it's getting the winter west sun, they burn because if there's no snow on them to protect them, the sun is lower in the horizon during the winter, so it really beams down on those shrubs that keep their leaves. So if you're planting boxwood, make sure they're on the east side, because then the morning sun is not strong enough to burn them. Same thing applies with dwarf Alberta spruce. Same type of thing. Now that, because they're a little taller, burlapping them is one of the things that you can do for a dwarf Alberta spruce. And again, that's what happens. The bottom is great because it's been insulated with snow. The top gets burnt by the sun or gets windburned. Let's see. Any questions so far? Nope. The other winter injury, of course, that happens is man-made, with the plow, snow plow, and that type of thing. So if you have somebody come and do your plowing, put those little red reflectors around what you don't want them to push the snow onto or whatever. Salt damage is another one too during the winter. If you can at all on your walkways, use a nitrogen. They've come up with it for a few years now. It's a fertilizer, but it will melt the snow, and then it won't burn. The salt won't burn your grass along your driveway or along your pathways. So that's a better way. Also, salt on walkways is not good. It'll deteriorate your interlock, your brick, over time. So you shouldn't use salt on that. Roses are quite good with salt. So if you're getting salt from the road, and a lot of times you see along roads, people that have cedars put burlap at the bottom. And the reason for that is the spray, or when the snowplow comes and pushes the snow onto their hedges, it burns because they're salting it, and the snow has got salt in it. So salt is a bit of a problem. So if no one has any questions, I'm going to tour you around the greenhouse. We will be open starting in November to the public on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 2. We will have to limit the number of people. We're limiting it to 10. Masks are mandatory to come in, but you can come in and just relax. We've got benches set out. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. And if you're interested in any of the workshops, I'll be sending a list to Anna. So if everybody's okay, we'll tour the greenhouse.
Yes, you're welcome to tour the greenhouse, and when you come back, if people have a question, then I'll open that up. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So this may be a little wobbly, but it'll give you an idea. So we have a pond. We do have fish in it actually, and they've been there for, this was a construction project for the students. I'm not sure where I'm aiming here.
There, you got it.
Yeah, so this is our pond with papyrus growing in it. And we've got some seating areas, as you can see, with plants around it. And there's Nancy working hard at watering and fertilizing. We have great volunteers. So, and a lot of these plants, of course, come from friends and neighbors, but we also rent out space for anybody that wants to put their plant in the greenhouse over the winter, and we look after them. We do charge by the square footage. Am I aiming this right?
Yep, you're coming back to where you were.
Yeah. So these are some of the plants, lots of red geraniums, palm trees. So again, you know, we're just setting things up. So, and we're babysitting this beautiful hibiscus. Am I aiming that right? Yeah.
Yep, yep, you've got it.
Okay. You can see through the window the little side greenhouse, and we've got German ivy and vines growing there. We take cuttings from them and we sell them. So
Let's see if we have some people that have some, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, let's see if we have somebody that has any questions.
Oh, okay. I'm going to walk through the front part of the greenhouse. This is where we would have classes before when we were teaching. And we do have some of the workshops will be held here if it's an audio visual type of thing. This is the west greenhouse, and we've started cuttings. These are strawberries. We're hoping to force them to produce over the winter. And parsley, rosemary, we're cutting, of course, and for distribution and for sale. And we're also doing cuttings of all these plants so that we'll have enough over the winter. So this is how we propagate from cuttings. So we put them under a dome. Am I aiming right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And we're growing chives, basil, peppers, tarragon, lots of peppers here. And at the back of the small greenhouse, we have our cactus collection that was donated to us by Bogdan Gorowski. He, oh, look at this guy. You guys are in luck. Whoop. Hang on.
Wow.
This is one of the flowers on the cactus, and it's just flowering now.
Now, how long will that flower last, Claude?
It doesn't last that long, probably a few days, but then you can see there's other buds forming on it. So over the next couple of weeks, it'll be flowering. And we have jades. We decided to put the collection, they were all in pots, and we decided to put the collection in a planter so that they would do better, because a lot of people seemed interested in cacti. So this way they have grown since we've planted them last spring. And at certain times during the summer, they flower beautifully. Here's one in bloom now.
Oh, yeah.
And this jade tree, which is, you know, quite old, will be flowering probably next week, the week after. And you don't see jades flowering that often. They have to be a certain age. And we have bougainvilleas and a lemon tree. So this greenhouse gets kept at quite a low temperature because the cacti prefer a cold temperature during the night and then a little warmer during the day. So that's our cactus house. So we're going back through our herbs and vegetables and back into the school part, or the teaching part.
Okay, I'm going to let you do that, and then I'll see if we have some people that have some questions, perhaps.
Perfect.
So if you have a question, could you put your hand up and I will open you. Looks like Jeannie has a question here, so I'll start with unmuting you, Jeannie, or you want to unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Just give Claude a second to get
Yes.
sitting down, and then we'll get you. Is there anybody else that has a question that I'll ask? Okay, Rolly, I'll get you next, and David and Josephine. Okay. So, Claude, Jeannie has the first question for you.
Okay.
Hi. You know, I can never grow roses more than 2 years. What am I doing wrong? They're beautiful, but maybe 3 years. They're beautiful, and then they die.
Do you prune them at all?
Very little.
Okay, that's your problem.
I'm always afraid to prune them.
Yeah.
Because they need...
Depending on what kind of rose it is too. If you're trying to grow long stem roses like in Britain, no. You're not, yeah. So the ones here, the shrub roses are very hardy. You really don't have to do anything to them. Some of them are a little more temperamental. I cut them pretty severely in the spring. And choose, you know, just like 3-4 major canes, and then get rid of the tiny little ones that aren't going to do anything, and cut it fairly back. Mulching it in the winter is going to help, but you want to do it after the ground has frozen. You don't want to create that little mouse hut. And fertilize it. They do
you like have to mulch them? Is it necessary? Do I have to mulch them?
No, if they've been coming back for you every year, then I think it's fertilizing and pruning, which is going to give you a thicker shrub, a thicker rose. And if you keep cutting back the blooms, it'll keep blooming all summer long.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we have Rolly that has a question, and I think I've unmuted you, Rolly, so if you'd like to ask your question.
Where exactly are the greenhouses?
Do you know the campus at all? The Grenville campus? Okay. Do you know Highway 44? Okay. So if you're coming through Grenville on the main street, Prescott Street, you keep going. And you'll see the buildings on your right, the main campus buildings on your right. You keep going a little further and you turn right on Curtis Avenue. It's right where the old railroad used to be. And now there's a walking path along there. So that's Curtis Avenue. Take that down. We're the last building, the only building on the left at the end of the road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and we have another question from David and Josephine. Just be a second while they, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, when we moved from Nova Scotia, we brought Christmas cactus with us, and every year we would get it would be loaded with blooms at least at Christmas, and sometimes a second time during the year. 3 years ago, we moved into an apartment, and we haven't seen a bloom since we moved. So
We have patio doors facing west. That's a fire escape for the building. And so I do have them on tables facing west. And a piece broke off. And so I transplanted it. So I have Christmas cactus in 2 plants right in front of the fire escape doors, which is against the law. But anyway, so I just wondered, how often should I water them? Because I think I've been over watering them.
That's an issue with them.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of a succulent, you know, the thick leaves on them.
Yeah.
They will retain water a lot more than a regular leaf. So yeah,
Right.
overwatering is a big problem. I would let it dry out completely before
Okay.
you water it. When you
Okay.
water it, really give it a good one that you know, even the water is going through the bottom holes of your pot.
Okay.
And then
So-
don't water it for another 2 weeks.
Okay, because usually when I'm watering my plants, like I just have, I have a couple of ferns and I have a African violet, and I do have a cactus, small cactus that doesn't seem to be doing anything, but I use distilled water. And I have a plant food that I bought actually at what was the nursery on Prescott Street for indoor plants. And I use that through the winter. So, but my cactus isn't doing anything. It's in, is that east? That's a north facing window.
Yeah, the cactus will like as much light as you can provide for it.
Okay, so I should move it probably to the south facing window. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And
Okay.
again, the cactus, you can leave a cactus without water for 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and that's usually one of the problems. Like here in the cactus house, if we water once every 2 weeks, that's about it.
Okay, and it's the
Yeah.
same with my, yeah, okay, so I was over watering the Christmas cactus, so that's a no-no.
That's right.
Okay, I believe Andre has a question, and then I have one question in the chat, and then we'll wrap it up. And if it's okay with you, Claude, after the meeting, those that want to ask you a couple more questions, could they stay on?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so Andre, I think you have a question?
It's Andrea.
Oh,
Um,
sorry, Andrea, yes.
Nice
I just
to
wanted to
name.
know if you could tell us a bit more about the man who donated all those large cactuses.
Bogdan Gorowski is his name, and he moved last year to Kempville. They had a house in Ottawa with a small attached greenhouse to their house, and he's an avid cacti collector, and
Yes.
he really is, like, they're his babies. He contacted me last year. I don't know how he got my name, and asked me if we were interested in having his collection, because he couldn't handle it where he had moved in Kempville. So, you know, it ties up a half a greenhouse, which could be producing something. But because of the interest that was shown by people coming in, that's when I decided, no, we've got to make it permanent. And we will be offering cactus workshops too. And he will be giving them because he's the master cacti guy. So yeah, so that's how it all happened. And he comes in and he's the one who looks after them because they're his babies.
Okay, thank you for that. And the other question was from Cam, and he asked, is there something special that we can do? Because with climate change, we seems to be getting frosts and thaws through the winter. Should we be doing something more with our plants?
There's really, you know, mulching the tender ones, the ones that might be like a zone 5 and up, that will require mulch. There's not much else you can do. I wouldn't plant anything small in the fall, like in a small pot, because the roots haven't really grown to stabilize the plant. And the thaw, the freeze and the thaw will pop them out of the ground if it's a small plant. But if it's a big plant, it shouldn't be a problem. So, I mean, mulching is the best thing to do. But again, you want to wait till the ground freezes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Claude, for joining us today and giving us some information based on all your expertise. And it seems to be a new occupation of a lot of relatively newly retired people that gardening is taking off. So I'm very happy to hear that the greenhouse is now available. I found out towards the end of the winter last year. So it's just wonderful to know that this resource is there and highlighting it to us. So I think you'll have more and more people coming by. I believe you said Tuesdays and Thursdays that we could come and just enjoy, perhaps bring your own coffee and sit down and enjoy the environment.
Yeah, definitely. The only restriction we will have is the number of people we can allow in the greenhouse, but it shouldn't be a problem. You know, so far, and we have 3 greenhouses, so we can definitely distance with no problem with the 3 greenhouses.
And is it from a certain time to a certain time each day? On
those 2 days, it's 10 to 2.
10 to 2.
Yeah.
Judy, I did see your hand go up, but if you
I was just going to ask if it was first come, first served, or can you say I'm coming at 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever?
We have been talking about that. The problem with that, it becomes an administrative nightmare. And you know, to say, yeah, and if somebody's late.
We'll take our chances. Delighted to know you're there. I wasn't aware, and I will certainly come and see you.
Great, great. Yeah, no, it's a really nice spot. I mean, it's a little dreary today, but it's still nice to be in here. And yeah, unfortunately, at this point, if we see that it becomes a problem, we'll probably have to do that. You know, try and make appointments, but if people don't show up, it throws everything off, and like I say, it becomes a bit of a nightmare.
Thank you again, Claude, and I'm sure you'll see some PROBUS people coming out. I'm going to turn over the meeting over to Rowena.
Thank you, Claude. I will definitely be one of the PROBUS people coming down to see the
Great. That's great.
It's just gorgeous. I'm surprised and I'm really pleased. That was a wonderful talk.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
a little wobbly, but
no, it wasn't. It was great.
It was a great talk, and I'm not a gardener, so and if I was interested, then everyone has to have been thoroughly fascinated. PROBUS, next month, I believe, Anna, you said we have Tom Byrne, who is a lawyer and who'll be talking about wills and probate, which is something we should all take notice of. I do want to thank everyone for coming today. We had a great turnout. I'm really pleased. And I really take my hat off to Anna and to Jeannie, on whose shoulders these programs land fair and square, because they get the speakers, they do all the Zooming, and I'm really happy that we have them both, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to meet at all. So thank you both. You're doing a great job.
Especially Anna, especially Anna.
Thank you.
Yes, but you are both doing a great job,
Yes.
and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. So hopefully we'll see everyone next month, the 3rd Wednesday of November. Gosh, we're getting close to Christmas, aren't we? And we will listen to Tom Byrne and talk about wills and probate.